morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us in our webinar series for 2019. Our webinars are typically on Wednesdays, but we decided to kick this off on a Friday for the upcoming federal government fourth quarter. So I'm Jennifer Schaus and based in Washington, D.C. And again, thanks for joining us today. Our typical webinars are every Wednesday. Everything is complimentary and recorded. We post them, the recordings, to our YouTube channel and to our website. So today's recording will also be posted in those places as well. We'll probably send you an email with a link as well as the slides. We don't take questions at the end just to keep these short and sweet. So if you do have any questions about any of the material that we covered, you can send us an email or contact us by phone. We do offer newsletter advertising, and Mallory Flowers from our team can help you with that. Our newsletter reaches a little bit over 15,000 government contractor subscribers. So if you're looking for teaming partners or if you're selling to government contractors, this could be a good outlet to reach potential partners and customers. A little bit about our services. We do help government contractors with a lot of, I'll say, a la carte services, including GSA schedules, 8A certification, and some of the other services that you see listed there. You can find more information on our website under the services section. And again, if you do have any questions, you can contact us directly. A little bit about me is listed here, but more importantly, let's dig into our topic today, which are 7 steps to winning federal government Q4 contracts. Okay, so first of all, let's just talk about the time period that we are referring to. So the federal fiscal year is October 1st to September 30th, and so the fourth quarter is obviously July, August, and September. So that gives you about 20-some odd business days in each of those quarters to actually get out there and hunt down some of these opportunities. The federal government has a use it or lose it, we'll say, budget mentality, meaning they have the budget dollars allocated for that quarter. And if they don't use those dollars in the current quarter or for that fiscal year, then the following fiscal year, they will not receive those same dollars. So they have an incentive to use it so that their budgets don't get swiped or cut. And good analogy, I think, is just a little kid in a candy shop with, the shop's closing in 10 minutes. So just like a child would most likely easily pick things that are right in front of them, things that they're familiar with, things that they like, that they know, that they trust, the government's going to make those same decisions, and they have a limited time to do so. So just think of that. What can you do to make things easy for the government to purchase from you? And I'll give you a little spoiler alert. There is no silver bullet. These 7 steps are things that you should be doing day in and day out, not just in the fourth quarter. A lot of times companies or consultants will talk about low-hanging fruit, and low-hanging fruit or luck typically comes from the right timing and a lot of hard work and effort that went into kind of setting that up. So we'll talk about these one by one here. So the first step, make sure you've made it easy for the government to find you. When they do market research or if they're looking for somebody to provide IT professional services, sometimes they will do a Google search. So, is your SEO correct that you are coming up in some of the Google searches? Is your SAM record current? And do you have the right NAICS codes in there? Do you have the right business size in there? Does your DSBS profile match what's in SAM? And is it complete? Is it easy to tell just by reading that what you do? Does your capabilities statement stand out that when you've met with that government customer, you and hundreds of other people, that they put yours aside for some reason? And the reason they're typically going to do that is because of a relationship. And that's not going to come from one meeting. It's going to come from several meetings. So again, you can try to get in there in this fourth quarter and squeeze in and build some quick relationships, but these should, again, be things that have been in play for months, if not years, And then Q4, it just makes it easy for the government then to find you and do business with you. Does your website scream that you are a government contractor? Does it really convey who you are and what it is that your company is providing? Even in your email auto signature, does everybody in the company have the same template or signature with, links to your GSA schedule if you're a GSA schedule holder? Does it have your DUNS number, your NAICS code, your small business set-aside codes, whether you're women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone, 8A, or anything along those lines? Even if it's somebody from your accounting department, having that information can be helpful because you never know who he or she is corresponding with. So having some consistency across all of these marketing components can be helpful. And we'll move on to step 2. Number 2, you want to make sure that it's easy for the government to understand, and even the primes, if you're trying to go that route, to understand what it is you offer. You don't want to be everything to everybody, but you do want to convey exactly what you do. So, either you're providing landscaping services or IT services. You probably don't want to be providing both. So pick one and be really good at that and be known for, hey, these guys are the go-to for the best landscaping services, or these guys are the best for market analysis, or whatever services you are providing to the government. And make sure that your capability statement is very clear to understand that that is what you do, that you've got past performance providing that, and how it fits into that agency or department that you're selling to. Again, check your DSBS profile, and again, make sure on your website that you've got all of that information, what you do, what set-asides you have, what contract vehicles you have, everything that would make it very easy for a customer to find you. Number 3, you do want to provide an incentive, meaning give them a perhaps box to check off, but you still want to lead with your capabilities. So you never want to go into a meeting or start a conversation with, hey, we're a woman-owned 8A firm, and oh, by the way, we provide IT professional services. You really want to lead with what it is you do, and that set-aside, women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone 8A should really just be something extra, a little bonus, a little incentive for them to want to work with you. And so there, we get into this in step number 7, but there you probably want to use the SBA scorecard. So in the event you are a woman-owned and veteran-owned company, you probably want to look at the departments that have done well with awarding contracts to women and veterans, and then maybe you pick one that needs to get their score up. And kind of reverse engineer yourself into some of those departments. With the mentor protege program, with the changes that they've implemented, when you can then partner with a large company, but the full entity then is considered a small business, that should give you some extra muscle in your marketing efforts, in your conversations, and again, making it easier for the government to do work with you because you've got the bench of the large business, but then the entity is seen as a small business. So make sure you're up to date on all of the regulations, things that can impact your business positively and negatively, and use those to your advantage. Number 4, do you have a way for the government to purchase from you? What is your contract vehicle? Do you have a GSA schedule or some other agency-wide vehicle or a specific agency vehicle, whether it's Seaport E, SOUP, or some of these others? If you are planning on selling something that's $10,000 or less, obviously the government can use the P card. OTAs, other transaction authorities, have kind of popped up. They've been around for quite some time. But if you're going that route with DOD and you've got something innovative, explore OTAs and other mechanisms for the government to purchase from you. Number 5, this is assuming you have been in government contracting for a while and that you've got a pipeline. So you probably want to follow up on any sort of sources sought or RFIs, requests for information, that you've responded to. Those will eventually, for the most part, graduate then to an RFP, or they could be set aside depending upon how many companies with the exact capabilities have then kind of fallen into a short list. So follow up with those folks, and sometimes you may see some of those trickle into Q4 purchases. Don't wait until beginning of September or even mid-September. Start those conversations sooner rather than later. Get the timeline. How is this going to be procured? Is it going a contract vehicle? Is it going to be full and open? Is it being set aside? Know the preferred method of procurement by the end user, by the customer. You want to leverage all of the public data that's out there. FPDS, which is the Federal Procurement Data System, fpds.gov, usaspending.gov, GSA eBuy, and FedBizOps. And you really want to look there for upcoming opportunities that are perhaps recompete, or renewal. So if a company has a 4-year contract and it's coming up for renewal in that July, August, September Q4 time period, start your marketing and business development and capture efforts sooner rather than later, because very often, just like we may switch who we take our car to for service or who we use for housekeeping services or any other services that we use, the government sometimes is also looking to change some of their relationships. It could be because they have changed people internally, and somebody doesn't like the current vendor. That can work to your advantage. Or sometimes the vendor has not performed well, and then the government is looking to replace them. So take advantage of these potential opportunities. If you could only provide part of the solution, you probably want to then consider joint venturing or teaming. And where are you going to find these teaming partners? Well, you could exhaust some of the databases out there, the DSBS. You could look at top 100 vendors within each department. You can go to some events and conferences at the chambers and various associations. So if you're selling perhaps to the defense sector, then you maybe look at ISOA, AFCEA, CCAF, NDIA, AUSA, a lot of these associations that are related to the defense sector. And there's where you're actually going to be able to shake the hands of the large businesses, but then also the government folks will also potentially be at some of these events and conferences. They could be speakers, so maybe you want to consider sponsoring the event or doing something to get your name out in the community. And number 7, as I mentioned before, kind of reverse engineering your way into some of these opportunities. Again, all of this is public data, so look at that SBA scorecard and figure out what departments have done well with awarding contracts to your set-aside designation. And again, perhaps pick one that needs to get their score up. So they're going to have an incentive to then potentially award a contract to a company that has your designation, women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone, 8A, and the others. The top 100 vendors per agency can also be helpful. You most likely, as a best practice, should consider registering on their website as a vendor, as a small business vendor. Make sure that your profile is complete before you reach out to them. First thing they're going to say is, please go to our website and register. So if you've already taken care of that step, and you've done some homework on the company to find out what contracts they have within that department, within specific agencies within that department, what they have that's coming up for renewal, and where you can be a player with them. That's helpful. You really don't want to go there and say, hey, what can you do for me? Because they're going to have thousands of other companies that look just like you. So set yourself apart and do some homework using those websites, FPDS and USA Spending and everything else, to understand where you can complement these large primes. And then you just want to look at every agency's forecast. What are they getting ready to purchase? Are any of these purchases happening in Q4? Agencies and departments are required to put out their forecast We have them all listed on our website, so the links are there, and we will send these slides over to you. So review those and find out where you fit. Find partners if you need to. Look at industry days. I know USAID has an industry day coming up June 11th. It's in partnership, I believe, with the Virginia PTAP. For those that are listening or dialing in from outside of the DC metro area, all of the other departments will have industry days, or contact your local PTAP to find when these events are occurring, that you can then position yourself for success. I've got some conclusions here. There are certainly some one-hit wonders in Q4. You may see some LPTA contracts, lowest price technically acceptable, where the government's just looking for somebody to come in and do the work at the lowest price possible. Companies have been known to win by a penny or 2 cents. So be very cautious of winning these contracts, because you may not be profitable and all you're doing is really just buying a space in the agency, and in hopes that year 2, year 3, you're then able to increase your prices. It's a very risky way to do business, but just be mindful that there are companies out there that do that. Those companies who are winning consistently are consistently hunting, and they're out there at the events. They're out there at the conferences. They are speaking at the conferences. They are industry leaders, and they're day in, day out, morning, noon, and night, hunting down these opportunities. They've laid the foundation. They have a solid pipeline. They're hunting specific opportunities, and they're being proactive, not reactive. And one last thought here. So while we do certainly see a spike in Q4 spending, if you look at the first, second, and third quarters, if you combine those, they obviously have more overall spending. So if you think you're just going to slide in and grab something in Q4, you may or may not get lucky. Like I said, there are the one-hit wonders, but if you have laid the foundation, if the government customer does know who you are and what you do, and oh, by the way, they can check a box because you're 8A or women-owned, then great. That's certainly an incentive, but it's going to take a combination of all these strategies and more, day in, day out, having the right pricing, having the right capabilities, but most importantly, really having that unique relationship with the government customer, them knowing who you are, that you are the best at what you do, and you're not providing 10 different services across 10 different industries. So hopefully that is helpful to you. If you guys have any questions, you can certainly contact us. Phone number and email here is listed. We will send out the slides and the recording. Thanks for joining us. Have a good weekend, and we hope that you enjoy the 4th of July holiday as well. Thanks again.